Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's continue with the fourth part of our software testing video. Okay, in this video, I'm going to cover on user testing and also testing principles. User testing are the last stages in the software testing. We have looked into development testing and release testing in the previous videos, right? So user testing. User testing is or customer testing is a stage in the testing process where the user and customer provide inputs and advices on the system testing. Okay, in release testing, the system is actually already ready, right? So in user testing, we are using the complete system whereby we get the user to be involved in giving inputs and advices because they are the actual user. So maybe along the way we might miss some of the practical aspects on the user side that are not considered during the development, or maybe we miss at looking at some of the usual processes that the user follow in when using the system, right? User testing is important even though comprehensive system and release testing has been conducted. So the reason to perform user testing is basically because when you conduct user testing, it influence, it gives us more information about how the user's working environment that may affect the reliability, performance, usability, and robustness of the system. Okay, because now the user is testing it. Some types of user testing is they are using it at their own environment. Okay, so maybe at this point of time we have more inputs from them related to the usability aspect in terms of how reliable the system is. Okay, so all this kind of information related to the customer cannot be replicated during the testing environment when it is done at the developer side. There are several types of user testing: alpha, beta, and acceptance testing. Okay, so when you heard the term of alpha testing, what it means is that user work together with the developer team at the developer side. So this is done during the development. Remember when during agile method where the user always involved, and also during TDD, test driven development, the user is always there to give, or not DDD, agile. Okay, during agile method, the user should be involved, so they are always there during the development. So that is called alpha testing. Beta testing, on the other hand, is where the complete system is given to the user, where they can download it and they can do some experiment on it. Okay, because when you do that, so it can be tested in the real environment of the user. So maybe they will raise some problems that are not discovered by the system developer during the development testing or system testing. Sometimes right now it is a way of marketing strategy to perform beta testing, where users are allowed to download ready system which is not fully being tested by the which has been tested by the developer team but not tested by the user. So the user can download it and test it in their own computer and on their environment and test it according to their own way. So if there is any problem, they will issue it to the developer. Another form of user testing is called acceptance testing. Right, so this one here, customer will test the system to decide whether or not the system is ready to be accepted. Okay, and it is deployed in the customer environment. So normally this is done for customized system, right? System that are being developed specifically on the customer's needs. Right, let's have Look, okay, these processes here are processes done on acceptance testing, okay, where first you need to define the acceptance criteria. So this is normally done early before even the contract is being signed between the customer and also the developer. Okay, so it's a bit of a challenge because at this point of time, the requirements are not ready, right? And there are lots of unclear information related to the system. But still, at this point of time, the customer and the system developer need to agree upon uh, what are the criteria to be tested in order to approve the system. Okay, based on a very not very detailed information criteria is being given. Okay, they will be start to plan. The planning will be happening to allocate resources. Okay, and to decide also on the scope and what to be tested. Okay, again based on the testing criteria. Right, from here it comes. If they produce a test plan. Okay, how much time, who will be involved, what to be tested, right? And then from here they will start to um, derive the test cases, and then they will start to run it, and based on the results they will try to negotiate on the test results. Maybe along the way there are some errors that have been highlighted, so there need to be some negotiation between the customer and also the developer. Remember that at this point of time the system is already ready and is about to be approved or to be released. Okay, maybe there are along the ways are some mistakes which is not discovered earlier. They need to negotiate it with the customer, and then they will write some reports, and then there will be a meeting where the customer will decide whether to reject or to accept. Okay, some extra details that I might miss. Okay, during the planning, they because it is a planning, so they need to decide from all the requirement, what are the coverage, what will be included in the test. All right. And then in deriving the acceptance testing, in writing the test cases, not only the functionality is considered, you also need to identify the non-functional requirement. Okay, and then when you run it, because this when the test acceptance tests are run, it is not done at the developer side. It is done at the actual environment, at the customer side. Okay, and they need to set up the environment, maybe because the customer does not have the correct environment to run the system. Maybe the server is not powerful enough. Maybe the laptop is old laptop with a different slightly outdated windows and so on. And during this point of time, maybe the tester team need to train the user so that they know how to move around the system, what to click. And then at this point of time, normally it is not automated. Why is it not automated? Because we want to see how the the user interact with the system. Okay, and then I mentioned just now, once this test acceptance tests are being run, and then you can see some results. Um, they need to agree what kind of that the developer need to fix the problem, something like that, and then after it is being fixed, um, according to what have been discovered earlier, so there will be a meeting between the developer and the customer to decide whether to accept the system or to reject it. Okay, let's see the linking between agile methods and also acceptance testing. As we know that in agile methods, the testing are being done in an iterative manner, right, before the next increment. So user and customer is actually part of the development team, and they actually helps in making decision whether to accept or not, or to proceed to the next stage. Tests are being defined by the user. Okay, because they are there and they decided which increments what are the functionality to be done, and as the in Agile, after each increment it will be integrated, right? So all the test cases will be built up, and there is in Agile method there is no separate acceptance testing process which is done um, as one entire process at the end of the system release, because in Agile every cycle, every iteration is there is a small release, right? And before they move on to the next release, the user will be there to perform the testing. But the issue with this kind of approach is that whether the user involved during each iteration is the suitable one, the typical user that will be using the system. Okay, that's the issue. Maybe there are actually many users involved, um, and the representation of student represented user that is involved in the Agile team maybe it's not representing that kind of user. Okay, it's not represent the interest of all the stakeholders. Right, that's why nowadays in the software development companies they are not only using Agile, they also are combining it with other methods. Alright, now that we have covered on acceptance on the user testing involving three types of user testing, and then we look at how Agile is related to acceptance testing. Okay, let's look at the last content of the video, which is on 7 general testing principles. Okay, testing is actually a very tedious job, and normally sometimes if the time is running out or the budget is running out, sometimes if it's not well planned, the testing will might be shortened, okay, or might be done in not in a very thorough or in a planned manner. Okay, so in doing the planning, so make sure that this principle is at the back of your mind. Okay, so the first principle is there are 7. The first one is testing shows the presence of defect and not their present. I think you have come across with this term early in the early video. Okay, so when you do testing, it actually show that there are defects, but it does not confirm that there are no defect at all. Okay, so that's why there are so many kind of testing that is performed during the development, during the release with the user, because we want to find all this as much as defects as possible before it is being released. Okay, principle number 2 says exhaustive testing is impossible. Of course, you cannot test all possible inputs and operations. Okay, as we are being constrained with budget and time, right? So that's why when you do testing, you need to have some strategy. So you don't test everything. That's why you have heard about a concept called um, equivalent partitioning. Okay, it gives you some idea what to test rather than testing all the possible inputs. Okay, and then principle number 3 it says early testing save time and money. Okay, start early. That's why there are many. That's why they introduce TDD, test driven development. They introduce agile, so that error can be identified earlier rather than at the end when the system is ready, and then you start testing it. Okay, maybe because if you fix the error earlier, it will save more time and cost. Okay, principle number 4 is says defect are clusters together. That's why when you want to identify the test data, you don't randomly choose the data. So you normally that's why you choose equivalent partitioning. Okay, you have a partition, you have a group, and then you choose from that group rather than randomly choose. Okay. Then principle number 5 says beware of pesticide paradox. What that means is that when you perform especially when you perform automated testing, you have a set of test cases already, right? So you keep on running it. So eventually, if you keep on running the same test cases, you cannot find any fault anymore. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to actually update it from time to time. Okay, if new functionality have been added, you need to add more test cases related to that, so that you can find more defects. Okay. And then principle number 6 says test is content dependent, meaning that let's say you have a set of test cases that successfully identified defects in the in your software that you have developed before. So if you are developing a new set of a new system which might looks the same, you don't simply rerun it there. Okay, you need to modify it a bit to include any possible risk that is related to your new environment and the kind of environment that the system is running, because whenever you test, you need to adapt it to the environment that it is running. It is content dependent. It's very dependent on the content. Okay. And principle number 7, it says absence of error is a fallacy. It means that even though you find the failure, you fix it, does not guarantee that the system will meet user expectation. Even though is error free, um, it does not confirm that the system that you built is actually meeting the user's requirement. Okay, so you need to involve user early and use prototype to show it to them, to make sure that the system that are being developed is actually meeting the user's requirement. Okay, as a key point to recap what we have covered in this video, we have looked at the objective of user testing. Okay, even though testing has been done in many stages, still the user need to be included, because we might miss some of the non-functional requirement or the practical aspects of the user. So we have looked at 3 types of user testing: alpha, beta. I apologize with the 2T, it should only be 1T, and also acceptance testing. And we have come across with the stages in the acceptance testing. Okay, we actually want to see that if you do acceptance testing, it is a stage where you need that is a decision that have to be made between the customer and the developer team to see whether to accept the system or not. And then we have come across with 7 testing principles that you should be always be aware of. And most of the principles or processes that you have seen here is actually derived based on these testing principles. Okay, thank you.